This is News 4 at 6.
It was the biggest relief that when they showed up, because you have that sense of safety and that you felt like, okay, they're here, they're going to take care of us, everything's going to be okay.
After those 6 hours in the morning, we figured, well, the worst is over. And then all of a sudden we saw this start to light up again.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Shelby Sheehan. You just watched some of the harrowing sights and sounds from the Davis fire burning in South Reno. Now, firefighters are working tirelessly to try and stop it from spreading and destroying even more homes. And just a look at some of the numbers right now, the Davis fire has scorched over 4,700 acres since it began Saturday at the Davis Creek Campground and Park in Washoe Valley. It remains 0% contained tonight. Governor Joe Lombardo declared a state of emergency yesterday. Fire officials say at least 14 structures have been damaged or destroyed in the fire. We still don't know how many of those were homes. Thousands have been forced to leave their homes. Well, mandatory evacuations are still in place for many areas tonight. People living in the red shaded areas have been told to leave immediately. There is an evacuation center set up at the Washoe County Senior Center on East 9th Street, and large animals can be taken to the UNR Equestrian Center on Valley Road. Well, here's a live look from the Mount Rose Highway, which remains closed this afternoon due to the fire. You can see the huge plume of smoke in the background. The closure has just recently been extended. The highway is now closed in both directions from Thomas Creek Road in Reno to Fairview Boulevard near Incline Village. The I-580 ramps to Mount Rose Highway are closed as well. Old U.S. Highway 395 is also closed from East Lake Boulevard to the Bowers Mansion interchange. Well, we have team coverage for you tonight on this fire. Joe is at the incident command post at Galena High School, where a surprise visitor just made an appearance. And Andrea Esparza is at the Steamboat NV Energy substation with the latest on those power outages caused by the fire. First, let's check in with Joe for more on this special guest.
Well, Shelby, quite a scene out here earlier tonight on top of all these fire trucks and emergency vehicles. Minnesota Governor and Democratic presidential nominee Tim Walz decided to pay a visit here to the incident command post here at Galena High School. Now, Walz had been scheduled to hold a public rally today in Reno. Those plans were scrapped because of the fire. Governor Walz shook a lot of hands, brought pizzas and refreshments, and asked some questions. But really, he was here to say thank you to those who are out there fighting the fire.
That was a huge boost to us. It lets us know that he's thinking of us. He's generally concerned about how this incident is going, and it just really gives you a warm feeling to know that he's got a keen interest about what's going on.
And I should point out, not a lot of politics discussed, just nuts and bolts firefighting and support for the firefighting effort. That was really the focus of Governor Walz's visit. He was here for about 45 minutes, shook a lot of hands, spoke to both the Reno and Truckee Meadows fire chief, and then hopped back in his motorcade. And now it is back to business here at the command post as crews work to continue fighting this stubborn Davis fire that continues to burn. There's a briefing underway behind me as we speak to talk about the next steps in that process. So that's the latest out here. I'm Joe Hart reporting live. We're at Galena High School, the command post. Shelby, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Joe. Well, the Davis fire also leaving thousands of people without power throughout the weekend and into today. News 4's Andrea Esparza joins us from South Reno with more on when we can see that power restored, or when residents can expect to see that power restored. Andrea?
And Shelby, my photographer, and I finally made it to the Steamboat NV Energy substation, which is right behind this road closure sign. And again, this is a substation that has been de-energized. This facility provides more than thousands and thousands of customers with power from Mount Rose to DeMonte, even to Washoe Valley, but de-energized tonight because they do want to prevent any other further sparks in the area, as much of their facility and this is really in jeopardy at this point because of this Davis fire. And when it comes to the Davis fire right now, NV Energy is still making some good headway on it because they did get back power for a lot of residents in this area. At its height in Saturday, 17,000 people were really left in the dark, but we have now gotten that number down to roughly 4,600 since about noon today. And again, NV Energy deciding to de-energize this facility here because they had some of their equipment damaged. They say about 17 power poles were burned down in Washoe Valley. And here the weather in Reno has been significantly improving today, but we are expecting that to take a turn for the worse really for tomorrow, leaving just firefighters a slim chance to really get this fire under control, as we're expecting winds up to 30 miles per hour by tomorrow. The National Weather Service also forecasting another red flag warning for Tuesday and Wednesday, and NV Energy is taking all this information into account until they decide whether or not they want to restore power for those few residents.
You may be at the south end of Washoe Valley, or you may be in the South Meadows and looking and seeing the plume of smoke and saying, hey, that's not really all that close to where I live. Why is my power out? Well, that's because we actually feed your neighborhood from equipment that is closer to the fire.
Again, everything here when it comes to energy is a grid, so that's something to take into account if you're still wondering why your power is still out in your home. NV Energy is currently working on the situation. We have no real estimated time as to when everyone will have restored power, but it seems like that chances are remaining pretty slim at this point. But they are working with local law officials to really get everything back on track here. Here in South Reno, I'm Andrea Esparza. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Andrea. Well, if you'd like to help families impacted by the Davis fire, the United Way of Northern Nevada and the Sierra has launched an emergency assistance fund. The emergency assistance fund will provide resources to those impacted by the fire, including food, shelter, and emergency financial assistance. Donations can be made at uwnns.org/EAF. It's right there on the bottom of your screen. Well, we are keeping an eye on the wind over the next few days. Let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Matt Monroe for more on a red flag warning that was issued for tomorrow, unfortunately. Matt.
Yeah, and again on Wednesday. So 2 very windy days coming up here, Shelby. I am super concerned about this. I mean, the fire's still going. It's still 0% contained. And the winds today, they aren't anything compared to what we will see over the next 24 to 48 hours. So those are the current winds. They're sustained. Those aren't the gusts. 13, 14, Carson, Reno. 17 down south in Minden, could be a little stronger right around the immediate fire. And then the plume of smoke is going to the south of Reno, tracking all the way eastward in through Clark and Fernley. Most of that is pretty much mid to high level stuff. It kind of scours out tonight, and then tomorrow could be lifting very strongly to the east when those winds really start coming in. So again, there's the plume lifting pretty much due north and then out to the east. It'll be worse to the south and east come tomorrow. We're back with all that coming up in big weather. Shelby?
All right, thank you, Matt. Well, Secret Witness is offering a $1,000 reward for information leading to an arrest in a deadly stabbing that happened over the weekend. It happened a little after 12:30 yesterday on East Moana Lane near the Reno Tahoe Airport. Police say a man was stabbed during an argument. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. The 2 suspects have been identified as 37-year-old Crystal Ayers and 48-year-old Jimmy Murphy. Now, these are pictures of them. If you have any information on where they can be located, call RPD or Secret Witness. A 12-year-old has been arrested for allegedly threatening several schools in Washoe County. It's believed the student uploaded several posts to social media showing weapons and tagging multiple schools. Immediately after receiving information about those posts, school police say that they launched an investigation and collaborated with the FBI to arrest the student.
We are currently asking that the community do not recirculate these or repost them once they find them. It does create fear and extend that threat throughout the community. If you do find something on social media, we're asking that you do report it to Safe Voice or to the appropriate law enforcement agencies.
The student has not been identified due to their age. They are facing 2 counts of making threats or conveying false information concerning acts of terrorism, which is a felony. Well, two women are fighting their different homeowner associations for the signs they posted on their lawns. The signs have encouraging messages from a nonprofit organization that could help people. Kim Burrows tells us why it's an issue in this On Your Side report.
Lawn signs can incite a spirited debate, especially in this political season. But when two mothers planted signs in their yards.
So I received a letter from our HOA.
If my neighbors can have political signs up during political season, then why can't I?
There was trouble from the homeowners associations.
They're tone deaf on what's happening.
Every fall, Carrie Countess puts these signs on her Sparks front lawn. They're messages from the families of teens who have died by suicide.
Suicide Awareness Month is September. Every September, I put these signs up.
Countess's 14-year-old son, Caleb, took his life in 2019. After that tragedy, Countess started the nonprofit Forever 14 that raises awareness and works to prevent teen suicide. The reason that Carrie Countess has these signs on her front yard is to spur the conversation. People driving by and those people who visit the park right across the street.
Well, those are really nice. I've had some hard days walk by, and some of those quotes have brightened up the day or been nice to read. I don't know why the homeowners association would have a problem with that.
But the Wingfield Springs Community Association does have a problem with them. Every September, Countess puts the signs up and takes them down at the end of the month. And every year, she gets a warning letter from the HOA saying no signs, posters, billboards, advertising devices. Apparently, the issue they have is with the colorful signs with the encouraging messages with the suicide hotline number.
This year and last week, I received a phone call from the association saying, we need to schedule you a hearing. And so I said, but these are political signs. And she said, they're not the right kind of political signs.
In an email from Associa Sierra North that represents the board, they said that they will not be providing a statement to any news outlet. And when I called, they hung up on me. Amanda Thibodeau's Sparks HOA also had a problem with the same sign from Forever 14.
And my teenager also struggles with mental health, so it's something that means a lot to me.
Soon after the sign went up, she got a letter that they considered it advertising that was not allowed.
And I told them a little bit about Caleb's story and what Forever 14 is and the purpose of everything, and just told them that I wasn't taking it down. I got a response about a week later, and all our community manager said is, this is closed, thank you.
Thibodeau hopes Countess's case has the same resolution.
I think that there needs to be some compassion, and there also maybe needs to be some education, some awareness.
Countess had a meeting with the board to explain the importance of her signs for the month. They expect to have a decision within the next few days. She faces a $200 fine.
I think I'll probably take the fine and keep them up.
In Sparks, Kim Burrows reporting.
And we will let you know of the HOA's decision about the signs when they do make a decision. Well, coming up, a report released today shows the major missteps in the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan. Coming up, who carries the most blame for those failures?
Okay, there it is, the Davis fire. Huge smoke plume, and this could be getting worse tomorrow and again on Wednesday. Big winds are coming up. Big weather's coming up next.
As the anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks draws near, scrutiny yet again how America's deadly exit from Afghanistan all played out. We want to hear from you in our national question of the day. We want to know, do you think the Biden administration's withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan in 2021 was a success? Scan the QR code on your screen to cast your vote. And for a closer look at this story, here's our national correspondent, Kayla Gaskins.
3 years after the deadly, messy withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, the House Republicans releasing a report Monday on their 2-year investigation into the matter.
This was one of the deadliest days in Afghanistan. It could have been prevented.
President Biden has faced heavy criticism from Republicans over the withdrawal that led to the Taliban quickly regaining power and left 13 U.S. service members dead. House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCall sitting down with CBS's Face the Nation Sunday.
They left these 13 servicemen and women hanging out to dry, 170 Afghans killed, 45 service members and Afghans injured as a result of the I'd say moral negligence.
The report accuses Biden and his administration of ignoring repeated warnings from military officials, national security advisors, and U.S. allies about the risks of withdrawing forces down to zero. This past week, McCall sent a subpoena to Secretary of State Antony Blinken to testify, a spokesperson for Blinken accusing GOP leadership of acting in bad faith. The Washington Post reporting the committee's probe is expanding. They want to also hear from 3 senior military officers who were in Kabul supervising the withdrawal. Democrats responding with their own report, also published Monday, where they argued the Trump administration set the withdrawal process in motion and failed to plan for executing it. Democrats also saying the GOP report doesn't give any new information. On Sunday, CNN pointing out Afghanistan has turned into a political thorn for Democrats, pressing Secretary Pete Buttigieg on how it will impact Kamala Harris in the election.
How does Kamala Harris address that since she was vice president?
What's clear is that this, America's longest war, needed to be brought to an end.
The Afghanistan withdrawal could come up when Kamala Harris and Donald Trump face each other on the debate stage in Philadelphia this Tuesday. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Vice President Kamala Harris posted a list of her policy positions on her website ahead of tomorrow's debate. The page outlines her agenda on immigration, the economy, and foreign policy. They include expanding the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit, which Harris aims to include a $6,000 cut for families with newborns. Another is a $25,000 credit for first-time home buyers. She's also promising to revive the bipartisan border bill. Well, don't forget, News 4 is your election headquarters, and we want to make sure that you have a chance to get out and to vote. If you need help with registering to vote or looking for other registration information, simply scan the QR code. And for all of your election coverage, we'll keep you up to date on air and online at mynews4.com. A red flag warning has been issued for tomorrow and Wednesday. What that will mean for firefighters battling the Davis fire. Let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Matt Monroe. And you've been talking about this all day, Matt. You've got some real concerns about really tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that fire is still going. It's still 0% contained, and the winds today aren't even that bad. It's been kicking up huge plumes of smoke. And tomorrow, winds gusting to 30. On Wednesday, winds gusting to 40 miles per hour. None of that is going to help in the firefighters' aid to get this fire knocked out. Now we're chiming in courtesy of Renee Gibbs, South Lake Tahoe. She's right on her boat, and it's an interesting perspective. Lake Tahoe so far has not been impacted by this fire at all. Air quality is really good there. There's Cave Rock, Incline Village way up here, and you can see the smoke. So again, we're not even talking yet about this fire kind of coming over the crest in Tahoe. We're not there yet, but it's just a reminder it's not terribly far away from the northeastern shore of Lake Tahoe. It is the Davis fire. It's 15 miles to the southwest of downtown Reno, and the acreage continues to grow, 4,703 acres and still 0% containment. It's sitting just to the west of 580 and the northern end of Washoe Lake, and the air quality here in Reno hasn't been bad. Right now it's actually good at about 30 to 40. This is the RC Willie Cam looking towards the fire again. You can hardly make out Slide Mountain. It is right there. Air quality right overhead in Demonte Ranch. It's moderate. It's about 80 on an AQI. You start crossing the highway 580 getting towards Montreux, Arrow Creek, Galena Creek High School. You're looking at AQI just over 100. So it should get a little better tonight as that fire settles on down. Right now we're in the upper 80s. Westerly winds are at 14, but watch what happens tomorrow. We're gusting during the afternoon 20 to 30 miles per hour. If that isn't bad enough, we're going to gust 30 to 40 miles per hour on Wednesday afternoon, and a big red flag warning has been issued 11 tomorrow morning all the way through Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock, and the same deal out here in northeastern Nevada. Luckily, no fires there. Now, the whole reason for the winds, it's low pressure and a cold front sitting right there. It'll approach tomorrow and come through Tuesday night into Wednesday. That ramps up all the winds. We stay dry out of this system, so a lot of sunshine tomorrow and Wednesday. Rain gets by us to the north there, and then Thursday, finally, the winds start coming down. Temperatures coming down too. By Thursday, we're all the way down to 75. Forecast goes like this for tonight. It's clear, dry, 58 degrees, and then tomorrow and again on Wednesday, unfortunately, really big winds come in. The winds will settle down on Thursday.
All right, thanks so much, Matt. Well, both President Biden and former President Donald Trump want to create what's called a sovereign wealth fund, essentially an investment fund owned by the government. Biden is designing one for infrastructure and other U.S. projects. Trump says if he wins the White House, he would pay for the fund through broad tariffs. In the past, Trump has said his tariffs would pay for his tax cuts, not a wealth fund. And many budget experts say a sovereign fund is unnecessary, particularly given that public funds are already devoted to current government projects. All right, coming up, Nevada football coming off a tough loss on Saturday. Hear from the Pac's head coach to get his thoughts on what happened next.
Sports is sponsored by Legends Bay Casino and Circa Sports in Sparks.
Welcome inside our Champion Chevrolet NSN studio with Chris Murray. I'm Alex Margulies. Nevada football setting their sights now on Minnesota this weekend. They'll take on the Golden Gophers after suffering a tough 20-17 loss against Georgia Southern on Saturday. Definitely a loss Coach Choate, even on Monday, having a hard time swallowing.
Yeah, Nevada outgained Georgia Southern by 214 yards. You got to go back to 2007 against Fresno State, the last time Nevada outgained an opponent by 200-plus yards but didn't win the game. So it was a very statistically odd loss for Nevada. But the Wolfpack can't be discouraged because you have seen great progress despite the 1-2 record on this team being a lot better than the last couple of seasons. Now, playing Minnesota, that is going to be a huge challenge. You're talking about a 16.5-point underdog. We'll see if Nevada's up for that challenge, but certainly the Wolfpack has seen some improved play despite what that record shows.
All right, let's hear from head coach Jeff Choate.
It's unfortunate, but these are growing pains. And it's just part of the process, and I think ultimately we'll be a better team because of these things, because we've got to learn how to win. And you also have to deserve to win. And that's when you play good teams, which we're playing good teams week in and week out, our margin for error is very small. And that's something that we've just got to continue to work on. I think there were some positives out of that game. Clearly, we were able to move the ball effectively. We got out of rhythm. 24 penalties is hard to overcome for both sides. There was a lot. The flow of the offense on both sides in the second half was really dictated more by the officials than it was the offensive and defensive coordinators. And so hopefully we can play a cleaner game moving forward and not have that disruption in our flow on the offensive side of the ball.
All right, Chris, as we mentioned, taking on Minnesota, a team that's 1-1. They blew out an FCS program in Rhode Island, a narrow loss, 19-17 against North Carolina. One thing's for certain, you play a team in the Big Ten on the road, they're going to be tough up front, especially on the offensive line.
Yeah, that's going to be the big challenge for Nevada in this game. How will they stack up against the run defense? Because Minnesota is going to try and run the ball at you. Like you said, Big Ten programs are usually big and physical. That's what PJ Fleck's team is all about. So we'll see if Nevada can match that physicality and produce better in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter has not been a great quarter for Nevada so far this season.
We'll have you dialed about this game before Saturday. You can find all of our coverage online at nevadasportsnet.com. We'll see you there.
All right, thanks, guys. Well, you only have one chance to win a championship. That's what rapper Kendrick Lamar said as he announced he would headline the season's Super Bowl halftime show. The iconic rapper will take center stage at Super Bowl being held at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans on February the 9th. This won't be his first Super Bowl appearance, though. In 2022, he performed alongside Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg during the Super Bowl 56 halftime show in Inglewood, California.
Coming up, officials turn to the public for help in trying to figure out how the Davis fire started. I'm Joe Hart. I'll have that story coming up.
And here's a live look at the smoke coming from the Davis fire on US 395. Stay with us. We'll be right back.